Good evening. Next on the agenda is our public comment. Public participation is encouraged in the Laurel School District. All meetings of the board will be open to the public except provided by law. Scheduled meetings of the board may be recorded. Audience members may address the board during public comment for non-agenda interests or during the discussion of the relevant printed agenda item. Your attendance is welcomed. If you plan to speak to the board, please look over the information on the agenda, then complete the public comment section located at the back of the room and provide it to myself or Superintendent Torres. To address the school board members, please stand at the podium, identify yourself, and briefly state your concern. Public participation is a right that carries certain responsibilities, such as informing oneself in advance of the issues being discussed, voluntarily being brief and germane as possible, not unduly repeating remarks others or you have already made, and showing respect at all times for the rights and opinions of others, whether citizens, board members, school district employees, or students. Thank you for your involvement in Laurel Public Schools. I do have I apologize, during last week's meeting that got moved to this week, we kind of made Shane believe this was the second meeting, so he is here, and without wasting his time, he is asked to just give us a update during the public comment. Of course, trustees, we can't ask any questions. We kind of have to just listen, but Mr. Torres can ask questions if we need to. So, Shane, thank you for your time, sir.
Good evening, trustees. From the West, City Ruffin. Masonry on addition to the in the area. Hogan, moving continues. We should be right there. Masonry is starting this week on the exterior. Civil work is starting back building the playground is. Windows are expected to be delivered next week. Same manufacturer, same. Starting that as well. And start the ditch including enclosure. Back up and running. So they keep turning it off, turning it back on. As soon as that's off, a little bit of time to dry out. Get that ditch enclosed. We did notice though, with when they did lower the water, our ponds were easier to empty. So we know that that is contributing to it. So putting this in pipe is a good deal for us to get that dealt with. South continuing, they're almost complete with the design. Once they have the full design documents, I would like to schedule a presentation because we have to present the final to you guys for approval at the second board meeting in November is what A&E had requested. So if we can put that on the docket for South's final presentation on full docs, and then we'll take it out to bid once you guys have given us approval. Graph, they're right in the thick of design development. I got meetings with the district stakeholders this week. And we'll do the same thing. I would expect a final presentation probably December or early January for that full bid docs. Take it out to bid. FF&E currently setting up for the bids. We've got vendor vetting, and then bids will be coming in hopefully within the next few weeks. So all in all, on schedule. Our budgets are in good shape, and we're definitely on track.
So when the windows get here, what is kind of basically the timeline to get them in? Is it a week? Is it 2 weeks? Is
It's
it
about probably 3 weeks to get windows in.
for both
Jason, you
buildings?
tell me. That's about what I would expect is about 3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks per building.
So we're hoping everything would be windowed in by Thanksgiving or before.
Right
Ish.
about that schedule.
There's gonna be some openings that won't be in, like the storefront entrances.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Good. You bet.
Sorry
Absolutely.
for the confusion. All righty, next on the agenda is our correspondence. Yet again, our community just amazes me on their willingness and donations that they provide to our schools and to our districts. I will go through, we have several of them today. European Porta Potties, we want to thank them for continuing to provide us on the facilities for our sports because we do have quite a bit, so thank you to them. J&M Trailer Sales gave to our cheer program. Q360 Health gave to our cross-country program. Shields gave 17 donation of shoes for those who need gym shoes. That's amazing on that as well. Cole's Pantry provided both to the high school and the middle school's pantry. That's, again, an unbelievable donation for those because we know feeding our students is very important. Mountain View Painting provided some materials for our fine arts program, and Fraternal Order of Eagles provided to our backpack program. So we just thank you very much to, and then American Pizza Partners provided to a couple of our events for the Laurel High Schools, I believe cross country, soccer, and so forth as well. So just want to thank them. We do appreciate everything for our school as well. Anything else missing? Okay. Moving on through our agenda, we have our consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve by Chris. Second by Chris K. Any comments, questions for the board? Comments, questions for public audience? Not seeing or hearing anything. For the consent agenda, I do have an approval by Chris. I do have a second by Chris K. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion follows. Motion carries. Excuse me. I was just telling Donnie, I feel like I haven't been in this room for a while, so I'm a little rusty. Moving through our consent agenda down to our action items. Action item A is our L&L policy review. This is a second reading. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve second reading.
Motion to approve for Donnie. Can I have a second real quick and then I'll come back to you?
Okay.
Or did you have more, Donnie?
I was just going to list the policy
You're more than
numbers.
welcome to. I apologize. Are you sure? Okay, as listed. As listed, Julie. Seconded by Chris. I apologize on that, Donnie. I thought you were gonna ask questions on that or make comments. Okay. Questions, comments by the board? Not seeing any questions, comments by public audience? All righty. Action item A for the L&L policy review on second reading. Motion to approve by Donnie, seconded by Chris. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Action item B for the L&L policy review on first reading. Do I have a motion? Do I have discussion?
I make a motion to approve the leadership and learning policy review first reading for the policies and for noted.
Renee? A second?
Second.
All righty, I have a motion on the table by Renee, seconded by Kayla. Any comments, questions from the board? Okay, I do have one. I just had because I understand that notice form 2314 NF is both our instructional and our library review citizens request for consideration of material form. From what it sounds like, and I'll look to both the leadership and learning trustees, kind of like we either took this and revised it a little bit, and I know we have kind of a mention on this from below, but on the second page, it mentions, what action do you recommend regarding this material? And the second one, the removal of district, I can maybe understand if it's talking about item within that we already have purchased, correct? But if we already have it purchased, why do we have do not assign or have available for my students? To my understanding, if we have it and we have it in, have to have it accessible to the student. Renee?
But any parent can opt out of it for their child.
Is that in 2310P? Or, no, the opt-out. I think we did put something there, didn't we? Now that I think of it.
I think it, yeah, it falls under that parental.
Well, I'm looking real fast.
That's more of kind of the underlying is the opting out.
Yeah, now that she says that, I almost think that was something we hadn't.
And then I was thinking, well, maybe it's an instructional.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that we talked about that in leadership and learning, whether we need to have two separate forms, one for library, one for instructional. But there's one question in here that we added instructional materials. Yeah. So, leadership and learning felt like this one, I mean, we could always come back to this. A lot of the instructional materials, I don't know when the last time an instructional materials went through this process, because it's vetted in a different way initially.
We have our opt-out for in the event that specific section of that instructional material might
If
close
it falls under that sexual,
Right,
yeah,
right.
whatever we're calling that. But any other material, I guess this would give them a way to ask for that to be opted out for their child. The decision of the committee or the board could be that it's, just because whatever they're asking for doesn't mean that in the end is the recommendation or the recommendation of the board. But maybe we don't put that option. I mean, maybe that's an irrelevant question once we get to this point.
Yeah, I don't think we have. I was thinking at some point we had something in our 2310 or 2310P that stated that was an option that parents could just say they're not going to check it out, but I don't think that's in there anymore. I think that got taken out.
Trying to understand.
I think because we didn't have a good way to do
I think that's what it was. Yeah,
delineate
that's what it
that
was.
out. We didn't have a way in the system.
That's
If they
something
tried
we
to
guys,
check out that book for it to pop up and say no.
that's something we want to, you guys are, I can edit it right here on the spot. So
We could just take out that question.
okay. It's currently deleted on the first reading.
It was just a question that I wanted to find out what was the thought process. So, okay. the policy 3226 on the bullying. Um, Have we defined what a district administrator has been in any other policy to our knowledge? Do we know what the difference? This, can we?
Making specific reference to the paragraph under reporting on the second page. So it says complaints against the building principal or a district administrator shall be filed with the superintendent. So, well, the superintendent's a district administrator. So I mean, at any point in there, if we have that, do we have that defined? District administrators in this case would be, any of our, we might have somebody that's not a building principal. Andrew, it might be Wayne, Zeta, Charla, Christina. It could be any of those individuals that would fall under a district administrator because they do things in the whole district. I guess, which technically that is me too. So maybe there's just a wording.
Yeah, and I just, again, I caught my eye and was like, well, difference. And I'll be honest with you, Renee, even your comment, should this be in there? Shouldn't district administrator? So then I was like, well, what is a district? So I'm really just asking you guys, I mean.
Should it just say district administrator, because a building principal is a district administrator, are they not?
I think they just live in their they have authority over that building, right?
They're an administrator in the district is what her point is. I guess it's just a word game, but
Well, and again, if
I mean, the way it read before was that all the complaints for any administrator came to the board, and so we resolved that. But yeah, I agree but we did talk about, because it just said building principal. Well, like, not
we all
every
understand.
administrator is a building principal, but I don't know. I guess it's whatever we call them in the district. I don't know.
is this being consistent throughout other, that's, I guess, my question then too, is if we want to call them that, I'm fine with it, but do we have even flow policies calling those specific administrators the same?
I would say if you're looking at this from the common man perspective, I like that it's broken out, because I think our parents and people who would review this policy to understand where those complaints are going to emanate from is from the public. They're going to think of building principal, I think, separately. And so I actually like it being split out for the common man sort of language that it lays out.
And I'm not questioning that.
Yeah,
I'm just
to
like,
your point.
and I don't want to like look and weight on our leadership and learning, but
Already going through them. As we keep going, be consistent.
if you go down in this one though, go down another 2 paragraphs to responsibilities and
Does
then
say it right there.
consequences. Now, responsibilities says the district administrator shall be responsible for ensuring notices of this policy is provided to staff. It doesn't say building principals. So now it's, if we're defining it in one paragraph, we probably need to be, the building principals are responsible for ensuring notices of this policy, or the building principals and district administrators. I think if you're going to split it up one place, you're going to have to split it up everywhere. So maybe makes,
that's okay.
Is it possible to just add a number 6 under definitions and put district administrator and list out who are district administrators?
Top and then.
and that solves one thing, but we probably need to go through and relook at this on a second reading. I'll highlight them just to force us to go through and look at it. But the answer is I think we could do that. We also need to go through and look at those other paragraphs where we just say district administrator. And to me, we could define district administrator as building principals and directors. But then we need to make sure that it doesn't say building principal in it. So it's got to just pick one or the other and be consistent.
And again, I'm okay with either or. I just wanted to make sure, like, are we being consistent throughout?
Well, and to Matt's point, perhaps if we use district administrator, we need to exclude him from that sentence, because he is a district administrator, so he can't review. I mean, it goes into that in the second sentence, but just to say excluding the superintendent and then say complaints against the superintendent shall be filed with the board. So that it's, yeah.
Breaks it out is to,
Let me take another swing at this before Monday. And I'll,
I currently have a motion on the table, and it is number 4 under policy 3226 bullying.
I'll amend my motion to approve the policies under item B with the noted changes mentioned. Well, item 4 and item 1.
Second that.
Yes, more.
If we're going to remain consistent, that added district administrator should probably be capitalized like all the rest of them are, just for consistency.
We can tie that up within the changes. Okay. Okay. Okay.
paragraph for you. What's the paragraph? Oh, yeah, you're right. Right. I got it.
Comments, questions from board? Item number B. Any comments, questions from public audience? Okay, I have a motion from action item B of the L&L policy on first reading by Renee with suggestions of edits, and second on Kayla. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Action item C, new bus routes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the new bus routes is listed.
Approved by Chris. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, she's quicker. She's quicker. Second by Jenny. Any comments, questions from the board? Any comments, questions from public audience? We are even having Zeta say no, so we're good. We're good. Okay. Motion to approve the new bus routes of item C under action items. Motion by Chris, seconded by Jenny. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moving into action item D, the co-curricular stipend for additional mentor. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the co-curricular stipend.
Motion to approve by Jenny. Any comments, questions from the board? Any comments, questions from public audience? Okay, not seeing or hearing any. Action item D for the co-curricular stipend of additional mentor. Motion to approve by Jenny, seconded by myself. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Action item E, the certified contract of the MOU. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the MOU is attached.
Motion to approve the attached MOU by Renee. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Donnie. Comments, questions from the board? Comments, questions from public audience? Alrighty, action item E for the certified contract of the MOU. Motion to approve by Renee, seconded by Donnie. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Action item F, public charter school. Do I have a motion? Discussion? Do we want to know what's
Like to
going on?
explain anything you need to explain? So one of the things that we're working on, we talked about it a month or two ago, I can't remember, but we talked about looking at options within our district for students who are currently home, maybe partial day students. So we can bring those students back in as registered students and yet still offer them educational opportunities, whether that be a few classes that they need, whether that be a full education, like for example, we have a student in the middle school, high anxiety, they may want to go home and I'm going to go to homeschool, I just can't handle this. It falls on the parent to come up with the curriculum and all that, to teach the curriculum, or pay for someone to do it, whereas the school would keep that student, still continue to collect the student A and B on that child, and yet we would be able to offer them through various options. We're looking at a few options right now, like Edgenuity, Edmentum, Harmony Education, who actually has teachers on the other side of the TV screen and works with those students at home, takes roll, they have specific class times. So looking at kind of a bit of a buffet for those kids to say, all right, how can we best serve this kid? If they're just, hey, I'm going to drop out. That might happen today at the high school. We had a kid come in, I'm not sure. I think I'm going to go home and maybe do Penn Foster or do something else. Okay, we have options here that this isn't going to be a giant burden on your family. You can still, we can still help monitor the whole thing. And yet if it's staying at home is the best thing for you, we have some of those options. Yet we still have the individual class things like Digital Academy. They would be under this too. So this would be you're approving tonight a charter school app for us to do a charter school application, which we've actually been working on for a few weeks. It's due November 1st. And we should be done with it this week. We could even bring it to the next meeting for you to look at as a discussion item, or even tonight you're approving us to actually put forth and proceed with that application. So that's really what it boils down to. The advantage of a charter school is it allows us to get some extra state funding. And it's not going to have to be something that's, well, we got to figure out a way to pay for it through our own general fund. Because we could be doing it through our own general fund, but it's a money thing. Because we're talking, just the programs alone for say 50, 60, 70 kids could be upwards of a couple $100,000. So we would be getting, if we're approved as a charter school, we would actually be getting some basic entitlement money. I don't remember the exact amount, Julie, but 400,000-ish. So that would pay for a lot of kind of a seed money for this program. And then once we continue and we're getting some A and B in this program, we could even see it grow in the coming years. We talk about a lot of things about charter schools. The administration's talked about maybe some CTE charter schools in the future. This is kind of our first step into this pool. There's about 20 of these going on around the state. We've contacted those schools and talked to them about how they're running their charter schools, this model with the kids in the at-home, kind of the virtual learning charter school. We talked to a number of schools that are doing this, and how are they doing it? How are they managing it? How many staff does it take? What type of administration are they using? And there's many models. There's many different ways of doing it. But we're looking at what we have available to us, and that will be all part of the application. So tonight you're just approving us to move forward with this application. So it's kind of has board approval, and then we can bring the application to you so you understand the bigger picture. We just need to have permission to move forward with it, and then it has to be in by November 1st. So I can bring it to you next week, and certainly, it's open to you all. So.
Johnny?
I have two questions. One, are we looking at two schools, an elementary and a high school, or are we looking at one or the other?
Good question. We're looking at 6 through 12 right now. This charter school would be a middle school, high school charter school.
So you're going to have to do an elementary for the 6th through 8 and a high school.
Well, we may.
And then my other question is, how detrimental, and I don't mean to be pessimistic, but how detrimental would it be if we don't meet those minimum A and B counts to get that basic entitlement?
No, I've asked that, and of course, everything's an estimate. To run a charter school and get it approved in the high school, for example, we have to have 41 kids. We do it in the middle school, we have to have 21 kids signed up. So some schools they estimate, everything's an estimate in November, right? Everything's an estimate. So what we'd be doing is we're estimating, 45 kids the first year in the high school, 25 for the middle school. If we fall short of that, which most schools have, they've fallen short of their estimates. The Board of Public Ed, and I don't quote, I'm not speaking for them, but they have given those schools like, okay, we get it, you're getting the program started, and they haven't rescinded their charter school application. That happened in Corvallis, for example, where they fell well short, but they gave them, okay, go ahead and keep working on it, because we don't know, it's a guess. As we sign up kids this year and slowly try to get kids, okay, if this is something you're interested in, we don't have a good, it's a guess. It's 100% guess. But they haven't been revoking other charter schools who've fallen short of their estimates.
No, I don't think they do, but you don't get that basic entitlement if you don't meet. You'll get the A and B, but not the basic entitlement.
First year, we'll get the basic entitlement, possibly not the second.
But I think you better make sure of those levels, because I think they're higher than that. I think it's 20 elementary, 40 middle school, and 60 or 70 high school.
Oh, it's the opposite. 70 elementary, 20 middle school, 40 high school.
Okay, as long as you're sure. I think a charter school is a great idea. I'm very supportive of it. It's a great funding source. Just be sure we're pretty confident.
Chris?
I like it too. I think if you look at Julie's enrollment numbers, if you kind of count it back just from not even just this year, but like from 22, like we've lost an entire grade level amount of kids, like 300 kids, so more than that, 2 grade levels worth of kids out of our district.
We're over 2,000 at one time.
So we're talking like, to me, this seems like a smart idea to help recapture some of those students who are leaving, and not just for the money's sake, but giving them back some structured education and, giving that to them too.
Options.
Right. My question is, so the charter school sounds limited in scope now. How hard is it if we want to increase that charter's scope from, say, just homeschool to other types of alternate learning? How hard is that to do? Or is that something you write in now and say, hey, we're doing this part now, and then we phase it? I don't know how that works.
Charter schools, we've been told they have to be fairly specific applications. So let's say we want to, I should have sent you guys this article and I didn't, but Lewistown is doing something similar, but they're also creating another one for the next year that I think it's CTE kind of a focus. So they did a separate application to answer your question.
That creates 2 charter schools then,
Right,
or we'd have
so-
those merged together?
Oh,
It's 2 separate because the
correct.
scopes are different. Okay.
That's where it becomes, frankly, a little confusing.
Chris?
You're talking about public charter schools, but have you looked at community choice school as this option, or only charter school, and why only charter school?
That's all we've looked at as a public charter school. That's just all we've looked at. And then it's run through the school, or it's organized by this board, controlled by the board. And it is very fast, because as we're sitting there in September, we realized, oh, they want applications by November, not March or start of school. So we put a lot of things together for this. So again, if it's something the board wants to wait a year for, we certainly can. I'm just not sure it benefits us to wait a year when things are right out in front of us right now. This is something we've been thinking about, and I brought it to your guys' attention a few months ago, been thinking about it for a year already. I think this is our first real big need that we have. We have other needs, but I think this is one of our first big needs, is giving kids options. That doesn't mean everyone stays home. It means we might have a kid who stays home in the afternoon and they come for some student services, special services, then go home in the afternoon and work on other things. It may mean that they want to take some classes, dual credit classes, so then they might leave in the afternoon and we would help them, give them time to go do their dual credit classes. Digital Academy classes, might just be 1 or 2 classes, or it might be a whole schedule, but it gives us the flexibility to pretty much do all of it.
I just wanted to add a little bit because we've been working on this together. Really tonight, we're just seeking the permission from the board and the support to put the application together. Some of these things we've already started doing at the high school to work with students on an as-needed basis if they need some flexible scheduling or they need some recovery credits. So we're already covering some of these costs. And we can see that almost every week we're losing another student to Penn Foster or to homeschooling or to other online platforms that we could provide. We would like to capture some of those students back. We wanted to put both the virtual school and the career pathways school together in one. But when we realized that the deadline was November 1 instead of in January, we short-tracked it. We looked at the easier route, which is creating the virtual school, because we're not really providing any infrastructure. We can really, for the first year at least, probably go a zero-sum game on staffing and cover in-house with a lot of the things we're already doing, but this will help cover some of the, maybe the added duties and the added work and the other costs of the platforms that we're going to be using. The other option that's along with the charter school option within the district was a lot more community building legwork, and that's why we really didn't go that route. And when I looked at some of the applications online, because you can see what's approved and denied, the state had a lot more questions about the community choice schools. This seemed like a small way for us to start into this charter school, and the other part with the career pathways and the further build out, that's going to take a lot more legwork and a lot more community building. We want to put that time in, learn from this model. It's a 5-year plan with this one. So hopefully when we build the other one, we can integrate both together perhaps down the road.
If 150, 200 students choose this option, how's that going to impact our staff and electives?
Actually, the application addresses that. Right now, we're written for 45 students in the first year at the high school and 25 at the middle school. If we go over the capacity, there's a lottery system and then there's a wait list. So we wouldn't necessarily, first you have to get into the charter school, and it would go on for the students who have the highest need for it, most likely. We don't anticipate a huge rush for students to be outside of school taking online classes. Do we think it'll save us some hemorrhaging of students? And do we think it'll help some students graduate? Absolutely. Also, we're not going to approve them just to go take their electives at home. That's not part of the way this plan works. This is really built for students who have a need for a given reason. They're not making anticipated progress. They're not on track to graduate. They have a medical issue that precludes them from attending. They've moved. They have some distance issues. We're encountering a variety of reasons. So I just don't see a lot of students wanting to.
Hasn't been a problem in other schools that I've talked to that have run something similar, because that is a question we had right away. Is this going to mean we're suddenly down to 450 kids? We have that. No other school has seen that. We haven't seen that around the state. Saying it couldn't happen to us, but that's not what Corvallis, Havre, they haven't seen those.
I just think that, environment is so important for kids, and they're around a whole bunch of role models when they're in school, and people who care about them, people who direct them, give them guidance. And I know that they can get some of that through the online platform, but they also have a lot of unsupervised time at home. And I think there's a lot of kids that wouldn't do well with that. but they would choose that if they could, if their parents think that they didn't have to pay for Penn Foster or some other school. So I don't know, my biggest concern is that our model of education has been in person for so long, and it's kind of one of our strong suits, I think, in education, is to have the in-person. So that's my thoughts.
I don't disagree, Chris, but I also believe there is a need for certain students. And I will be honest with you, my daughter was one of those students. And if I could have kept her in with the support from the staff and not venturing off to do Penn Foster and still struggling with it, and having somebody to have a resource and guidance and having that backing, I think some of those students, they don't officially even follow up with Penn Foster either. And it is a struggle. I've talked to 2 moms right now that both of their students at the high school level, they're not in high school. They have high anxiety to the point where they don't want to be there. And to be able to still then grab those students and say, with their parents, we're here, and how can we ease into a few things? I think it's, if we can capture, and great for 40, if we can capture even 10, that's 10 extra students that we might get to the finish line. That's how I see it. It's just how I feel. So I see your point, but I feel that every child could potentially benefit if that's the need they need. So it's just personal for me.
I'd agree, because that was kind of what I was thinking too, is that we, a lot of these students are going to leave our district one way or the other. At least this gives us an opportunity to continue to be in their lives and be that role model and influence, and to help struggling parents, I think, who are like, I can't have them in school, but I don't exactly know how to do this homeschooling thing either. And we can be there sort of as a guiding, star for them and get those kids across the line, I think is also, like to Brittany's point.
Well, and I think that we also have to look at the flip side of this. Is there's there's a vulnerable population in this, but there's also the flip side of this, of kids that could accelerate learning through this process, that are bored at school. They would finish and they would graduate, but this gives them either a resource to do different classes than what we offer in school setting, or it gives them the ability to do these classes as well as take other classes in a different way, or work in a field that's going to get them farther. I mean, I think that there's 2 sides to this. One, we can capture some vulnerable populations that may not graduate without something like this. But the flip side of this is we can help those kids that are accelerating, where in-class high school isn't ideal for them either. Not that their outcome would be not positive at the high school, but it would be better if they had this option. So I think there's flip side to both of that. And I think to the point that we obviously are losing kids, and that's not just our district, that's nationwide. We have to find a way to help kids in today's culture and today's circumstance to succeed in education. And that means changing the way we do education. And if we can be a small step towards that, and are we going to get it perfect the first time? Probably not. But at least it's a step towards doing something different, because obviously what we're doing, for whatever reason that is, isn't working, because we're losing kids on the regular. So.
Any other comment from the board? Because I don't have a motion yet. Okay, you're okay. Yep.
Will the online option include acceleration like Penn Foster has, or so it will be comparable, so kids who are choosing Penn Foster are going to see the district's plan as something that
It can include any range of the courses that are offered by the platforms that we use. MDTA allows for some acceleration options, and there are acceleration options in Edgenuity and Edmentum as well, which
AP classes and such.
there are a variety, and that brings up a valid point also. If we have some students that are part-time enrollment, maybe they're on campus part-time and they're online part-time, they might also be able to participate in things like additional job shadowing or work opportunities. also that would benefit them. And we haven't even brought up the discussion point yet of the additional college classes that will be available, because that's the part we haven't had a chance to research yet, but that's also an opportunity for these students that would be part of this program.
I don't have a motion. Action item F, public charter school. Do I have a motion?
I'd motion to approve the application process for the district to establish a charter school.
Motion approved by Chris,
Second.
by Renee. Any other comments, questions from the board? Any other additional comments, questions from public audience? Thank you for giving us your input as well, Dr. Riley. Okay, so with another questions, comments, I have a motion by Chris, seconded by Renee. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Action item G, the novel adoption of Code Talkers. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the novel adoption for Code Talkers.
By Renee. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jenny. Comments, questions from the board? Comments, questions from public audience? Okay, not seeing or hearing any. Action item G for the novel adoption of Code Talkers, approved by Renee, seconded by Jenny. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Ooh, having a moment. Motion carries. Last on our action items is H, the permission to use ceremonial parade rifles at the Veterans Day Assembly for the high school. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve an exception to policy 4332 for the Veterans Day Assembly at the Laurel High School.
Motion to approve. Chris, do I have a second?
Second.
Questions from the board? Nothing? Do you want to, you can comment.
It was asked of me that we could make sure that from the high school principal's perspective, if we could make sure SRO just confirms they are inert weapons. Correct. Just if they could confirm they're inert, that's all that we ask.
Comments, questions from public audience? Okay, not hearing any. Action item H, the permission to use the ceremonial parade rifles at Veterans Day Assembly at the high school. Motion to approve by Chris, seconded by Kayla. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Going to go through our informational items. I do appreciate everybody's time and willingness to put those department reports together. So thank you so much. I will go through them one by one. If you have any interest to highlight something, let me know. Ask a question, please let me know. Same with you. If you have anything that you want us to really kind of seek out, if we've missed something, please let us know as well. Okay, going through department reports, we have activities. Very busy, very busy. Do you sleep? Food services. I did ask a question in regards to knowing that we do kind of have that grant and providing free meals to students. I wanted to know if we're seeing a trend in offering, because of that, do we have more students being fed? Can you?
I do have some numbers. I talked to our food services director. And again, these are just numbers for September. That's the only full month we've had. Compared to last year, we're serving about 63 more meals for breakfast. Our lunch, we're serving more so than last year. We're up about 830 for lunch. So that's quite a bit for the month of September. So and she hopes to raise that. She says she hopes to see the numbers go up even more. So again, that's free lunches for K through 4 is what we qualified for this year.
Thank you very much. Move,
Right. And those are K4 numbers I just gave you. They're not district-wide numbers. They're K4 numbers. So for breakfast, 1788, that's what we did last year. This year we're at 1849. And this year for lunch in September, K4, we were at 6820 last year and we're at 7649, 7,649 this year. So up about 800 some.
already moving through to technology. Thank you, Devin, for all of the scary information on AI.
I'm just waiting for Skynet to come and
Skynet.
And we're going to crash? No, I'm just kidding. So thank you for those reports. Again, it's great information. Going through our financial reports, thank you, Julie, for putting all of these together. I know you have quite the report list to add to us. So bond expenses, cash report, revenue report, expenditure report, high school activities, August middle school activities, September middle school activities, union list per the CBA. Yes, ma'am.
So I noticed on the original agenda, there was also one for classified, and it's not on the second agenda. Did something
That is correct, because it's not required in the classified contract, and I screwed that up. So it's not required in the classified contract that they give that to them.
Thank you again, Julie, for all of that information. Principal reports, thank you, principals. Looks like we are trying to set some major goals. It's nice, kind of seems to be the trend across the whole population for those, so thank you very much. South, West. I think I had one I wanted to comment on. Graph. Middle, which I'm not seeing. Middle, do we have? Oh, there she is. Well, hello, Mrs. Robertus. I love that pre-referral flow chart. Have we ever seen that before? Is this new? Is this, you're in your report? I love that. I mean, kind of, it gives us the tracking of what you guys are doing. That's something that you guys have always done and we've just never seen it in written format. That's great if we have, I mean, thank you. Let's just put it this way. Thank you for adding that. It was very nice to see as well, just kind of a.
And seen over at the middle school for a couple of years with our MBI, just kind of revisiting, bringing everything back. And so even with the behaviors I'm trying to track from last year to this year and kind of reference what the difference is month to month to month. And then of course we put our classroom interventions in there because prevention is the best. And so we're really trying to do a lot of intervention to be proactive.
But it was nice to kind of, like I said, to see that flow chart. So thank you very much. And then principal report for high school. Thank you very much to everybody on those. Again, I know that's time out of your day to give that to us, but we do appreciate that. Committee meetings. I have September 5th, leadership and learning. September 12th, capital planning. September 19th, leadership and learning. September 26th, capital planning. Thank you to those board members as well. Superintendent's report. Resignation and job vacancies. Down into, thank you very much for those as well. Down into the MTSBA liaison report. Donnie, what you got for us?
So this was one bonus of having the meeting a week later. I got to go to MCEL and can report back from that. I did attend delegate assembly on Friday morning and just wanted to give you some updates obviously, MTSBA is working towards gearing up for the legislative session that will begin in January. Just to let you know that the Think Tank Thursdays during December will be geared towards legislation and getting people geared up with what's coming and how things are going to work and those sorts of things. There will be daily emails during the session and weekly updates that will come out from School Board Association. When you do see call to action, they just really emphasize the importance of trustees responding to those. It makes a huge impact when the legislators hear from their constituents. And so they were just really emphasizing that. And they do have a new software that they're using. It's an email response system to make it easy for you to reach out to your legislators with the items that they're calling to action. So just wanted to give everyone a heads up on that. There is a huge bill that the CAMPS group, which is the 5 educational communities, are working on for changes to the funding structure, but it's very large and probably not all components of it will be brought up during the legislative session. They're really kind of shifting gears and pushing it towards the Bicentennial Study, which is supposed to take place in 2025. So, but there are still funding items that they're going to present at the next session to give us some additional funding opportunities. And one of the things that they are working on is double major maintenance payments, which is good news. That's a sizable amount of money that goes into our building reserve funds. And since we're working hard to get those levies passed, but should we not be successful, hopefully they will be, because those are permissive dollars that we're able to levy and some support from the state, increase from the state. And then the most important thing from himself is the Golden Gavel Award that was presented to the Laurel School Board. We haven't received one in a couple of years, Mr. Torrance told me, so we'll add it.
We can look over there, but I don't think there's much. So how do you qualify, Donnie, to get one of those?
Well, the ways to qualify, typically it is the amount of time that individual trustees are putting towards education and training to be a trustee, and they track those hours. But another way, and the way I think we really got it, they didn't say how people qualified this year, but if you participated in strategic planning, which we did as a board, I think that's what really got us this year.
All that counts towards our hours, whether it's training for negotiations or strategic planning.
So anyway, there it is. Good job.
Thank you. Anything else, Donnie?
That is it.
Thank you. All good information, and thank you for being there to accept that for us. Moving through our informational items, we have the history of the Building Reserve Fund, high school library book order, the Graph Library book order, the intermediate, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to start practicing that, so I'm going to tongue twist it all the time, book vending machine for the book order. Okay, thank you very much for all of that information. Moving through our agenda, we're now down to a discussion. Which I don't have much, but just the updated board trustees meeting schedule.
The main reason that was updated was because in January, we're supposed to be at the middle school on the 27th, but I believe that is the overlap of the principals conference. So we flip-flopped a few those individual schools.
Okay, I know that time is precious. Do we want to take a quick 2-minute break before we start our interviews? Okay, so I'm getting a lot ahead, so let's actually make it 5. So it's 7 o'clock right now, Julie. Let's take a 5-minute break. We will readjourn at 7:05. Okay, we do have, oh, we're very excited. I know. Okay, we got through one meeting in an hour. Let's try to get everybody out a little bit early as well. We, next on our agenda is our candidate interviews for our student representative to add to our student section over there for helping us to understand what is going on at that level. We are going to do a little bit different tonight. We're going to ask each candidate to come up by themselves, and we're going to ask the other candidate to step out so that it is kind of a one-on-one on that. It was something a little bit different as per kind of a request to see how it works. I'd like to see how that template works as well. So if we're okay, who is going first? Do we know? Oh, perfect. We're on it. I love it. I love it. Come on up. We're going to introduce ourselves. We'll introduce ourselves so you know who we are, and then we'll have you introduce yourself. And then I will ask just a couple of questions just to kind of get you going. It looks like you have a sheet, so you're kind of prepared a little bit. That's okay. Good. Wait, just say, yeah, I had it all written out. And then you might have each trustee ask you one question, and then we'll go from there, okay? So Chris, if you'll get started on just introducing yourself, sir.
Getting notes ready so I can take notes.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Donnie McVeigh.
Mr. Torix, and I'm your superintendent.
Brittany Hunter.
Chris Fogley.
I'm Jenny Jones.
All righty.
My name's Michael, and I'm a junior. I think
Why did you choose to apply for the student representative?
so. There's a couple reasons that I applied to become a student representative. Is because I've always wanted to be a voice for students because I feel like they are our future, and in school that is where they start to grow and blossom. So we got to foster that while they're here, so that our future is better prepared with students, with good students. Yep.
Why don't I go? I know you're on my right. It's just easier. We can start with Jay. Do you have a question that you want to, or anything that you want to add? I know I kind of put. That's okay. Kayla.
Okay, one of the reasons why you should pick me is because I have such a wide range of voices that I can be heard. I'm the student body president at Laurel High School, so I hear a very majority of voices come to me when they have concerns. I'm also the District 4 president for the Montana Association of Student Councils, where I also sit on the executive board. And with this, I can hear also concerns from the district. And then on top of this, I'm in many clubs and activities and sports, which allow me to hear even wider range of voices that usually want to be heard. Did that answer your question? Okay, so as you know, as I said, I'm the student body president. I'm also the treasurer in BPA. I'm in National Honor Society. I'm also was an outdoors club. I didn't do it this year because of wrestling, and I didn't really get to do it. Also was a wrestler on the state team, and then I'm really active in our student participation, like in the stands and everything like that. Yep, thank you.
What would you say is your biggest concern with our school district?
So with our school district, one of the things that I've heard, not a concern just for the district, but it's more for the high school, because I'm surrounded by students there. I'd say the new schedule that we have, it's currently putting a lot of stress on the students. I've heard that from many high schoolers, from freshmen all the way to seniors. They just don't have enough time to focus on the work that they have presented in front of them because they were probably used to the hour and 45 minutes that we had last year for them. And then it switching up makes it hard for them to focus. And yeah, that's what I would say.
So you sound very busy. Are you able to commit the time needed to sit on this board and be our representative?
Yeah, so that's one of the things before I signed the application is that I thought to myself, am I going to have enough time for this? And I told myself that the voices of students should come first before some of my activities, because I feel like it's my duty as someone that is involved and has a higher power, and is more active in the school to get their voices heard. So definitely I would allot more time for the student representative than other clubs. I wouldn't neglect them, obviously, but I would put more time and effort into this compared to other things.
How about some of your personal interests and hobbies other than your sports and things like that?
Yep. One of my biggest and favoriteest things to do, I know that's not a word, but it's hanging out with my family and friends, and then also playing a good board game. I love a good board game. I find them really fun, and then engaging with my family with that too. Yeah.
Ready?
How will this benefit you?
How will it benefit me? I'm not really looking for it to benefit me. I'm more looking for it to benefit students in our school district, not just the high school. But for me, it's not really about it being on my resume. It's just to help out the students that don't have a voice currently.
So as a junior, you may not have totally figured this out, but what are your future plans and how will this experience help you with?
Okay, so I am having a midlife crisis over over what I want to do. I do want to go into law. I want to get a master's degree from or a bachelor's from MSUB for political science, and then go to college for law, where I want to be a lawyer for a while, and then pursue law farther and become a judge. And this would help because we do use there'd be Robert's Rule of Order used in the courtroom and all of that. And I wouldn't mind serving as a voting member of the board myself in my future as well.
So you had like full power for a day. You make one decision and it was like, Mr. Carter couldn't stop you, we couldn't stop you, what would you do?
That's a hard one. Because I don't see myself in absolute power anytime, because I don't want that. But what I would do is probably, that's a hard question. I would give, I don't know. That's such a hard one. See me struggling up here. I would let kids have a free day. I would let them go. I would actually want them to go explore different clubs because our school has a wide variety of clubs. I'd want them to go to those like meetings and see what they're about, see if it piques their interest in any ways. Just have a day for that, just so they want to join a club. So maybe that would bring more student participation into it.
We'll just ask, do you have any questions for us?
I just want to ask one question. So as a student representative for the board, I would just want to know, like, what are some of the responsibilities that it entails? Like, what would I be doing? And would I be like going to other schools to hear the voices of other students? Like, what does it entail farther? Explain farther to it. Jamila.
So if you were chosen, we would first off reach out to the other principals and then go interview children, see what has changed since, well, at least the last year I was there, see what we can do or add. I know we have some programs we're working on for the younger schools and then for the high school too. So we'll kind of be doing that for the first couple months.
So is that something that the board would assign to the student representative, or is it something that we would just bring to the board as a whole?
We've asked those that have sat in that seat to kind of go down to the school level and see what potential, is there a need, is there a struggle, is there something that needs to be brought back? It really depends on what that student representatives believe is something that they need to bring to the attention to the board. You are that voice to the, to our students on pretty much boots on the ground. And then do you need to investigate more? Is it something that maybe it's a passion that you need to bring back and say, hey, this is something that we need. So it has been, I would say, morphed in and out based off of who sat in that seat and what those students believe is something that needs to be a call to action up at this level.
Thank you. That's all my questions.
Board. You do
Yeah,
have to
you
come
gotta
to the
attend all the
meeting.
meetings. Yep.
I saw that on the contract. I signed.
Other than that, we don't have, I mean, it's not that we are specifically telling them that we want just this information. It's really them coming to us with what they are hearing from the schools, correct? Am I understanding?
I think so. I think it's being assertive to here in a meeting to let a student voice happen. So sometimes these people were all sitting there talking. Someone may not look right over and say, Jay, what do you think? Or, and so she just got to jump in there and say, well, have you guys thought about this? It's being an active member, not a voting member, but an active.
Chris?
I'd say two. Give you elementary kids, I think really love seeing you guys. We'll be there a couple times to run. Like just being a good positive influence in all of them, including the high schools. Let's not like take them out of it. Being a good influence in the whole district.
Admin staff, is that kind of what you've seen from our reps? Because I know that they have come to you directly on a few things for the schools and asked you. Yeah. Well, thank you, Michael.
Thank you guys so much.
Don't go anywhere. We'll just kind of put you out there and then we'll have you come back when we're both done. Okay? Thank you. What?
Didn't catch your last name.
Mormon. Well, hello there, sir. How are you?
Good. How about you?
Good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow each of us to introduce ourselves. I'll then ask you to introduce yourself. I'll ask you one question to kind of get you kicked off and started, and then each one of the trustees will ask you a question as well. And at the end, you'll be able to ask us a question, and then at that point, we'll probably adjourn for a minute, let the board discuss, and then bring you both back in. Okay? Sound like a plan? Okay. So Chris, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Mr. Torix, I'm your superintendent.
Brittany Hunter.
Chris Bogley.
Kayla Gray.
Jamila Gutierrez Heredia.
I'm Chase McLean. I'm a junior.
Well, my question to you to kick us started is why did you apply for the student representative?
I applied to become a junior representative on the school board because I see a lot of simple little issues at our schools that I think could be solved just by having a student's voice on the board, which I think is really important. Also, I think a lot of important decisions happen on the board that our school doesn't know is happening, or our students don't realize the work that the board puts in. And I think it's really important for them to realize that too. So I could also relay back to them what happens here.
Jay, do you want to kick us off now that you're ready? Now that I didn't
Yeah.
throw you underneath the bus?
Why do you want this job?
I see it as a way for me to become a larger leader at our school. I really like having leadership positions. I've led through student council, NHS, several different things like that, and I really enjoyed the leadership position.
How would this benefit you?
I think this benefits me because I like to have lots of information. I like to know things, and that seems a little bit difficult. I don't really know what happens in the school board meetings, and so it's kind of nice to be here and see what happens. For our district right now, it definitely seems like the funding is the biggest issue. There's a lot of things that we would like to do as students that can't happen because of that. Like trips for different clubs or sports, things like that just can't happen, which kind of is disappointing, but at the same time we understand. So that's the biggest issue I see.
What activities are you involved in? Do you have the time to dedicate?
So I'm in student council, NHS, BPA. I founded our school's chess club. I'm also a cross-country runner, a track runner, and in debate. And I'm also taking 5 online classes outside of our school. I think I would have plenty of time to be here. It kind of sounds like a big load, but I'm really good at time management and getting done what needs to be done. So
Tell us some of your personal interests and hobbies.
I enjoy running, which seems kind of stupid, but I love running track and cross country. I enjoy playing the saxophone in our band. I really enjoy hanging out with friends, just doing whatever, living life.
So as a junior, have you given thought to what you want to do after high school? And would this play into that decision?
I've given lots of thought about what I want to do after high school. I want to become a corporate lawyer, and I think that the school board position really helps, especially with the parliamentary procedure aspect, getting to know kind of what a courtroom might feel like, the professionalism aspect, and I think that really helps.
So, yeah, fact two, so if you had like a magic wand, you let you do any one thing for the district.
I'd probably give the district as much money as possible. It kind of seems like that could solve most of our problems with staffing, our educational materials, and just overall health of our student population, I think. I don't.
I'll ask you to step out. We'll probably take 5 minutes to kind of discuss. That sound good to you? Yeah, I will.
It's pulling this air to the building.
I mean, if we're not hot now,
Because I'm so by the way.
all righty. Well, sounds like we have 2 very, very involved candidates,
It's tough.
very impressive candidates. Jay, can I look to you? Since you know them as juniors, do you see
Yeah.
one that would,
Yeah, I think they're both extremely qualified. Obviously, when Michael was talking, he's more of I would say at a higher level with the whole executive position, I believe he said. But for Chase, I do see that he is a little more intact with our students on a personal level, like at school. You know, he communicates more. So that's kind of what I just see within them at a school level. But honestly, they would both do a great job in interacting with others. So whatever you guys think.
you made our decision so much easier.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to kick us off, or I can go one by one? Chris, okay, well, okay, let's go. Okay. Caleb's like, thank you.
I like that Michael's got so much involvement in this sort of arena already. But to that point, I also think that might, if I'm talking about benefits to the student, I think Chase might benefit more from it just because he's not student body president and on these other councils. So you might see more of that. It's nice to know that maybe he's got more of that personableness that would make it approachableness that with the younger students and the students at school. So I think that I would probably lean toward Chase.
Just think it's ironic that they're so similar.
Yeah.
Really make it
Doing
tough.
their pen jobs and
Oh,
everything
yeah,
else.
yeah. Well, of course, being school finance, I have to like Chase's answer on. But, oh man, I don't know, I'm gonna make this difficult. I think I'm gonna lean more towards Michael.
I don't know if Michael's role in student body would cause more of a wrinkle if he's on the board as well, but I do like him as a candidate for this. 'Cause I think he really kind of knows what he would do with the position, and not just see it just as a leadership opportunity, but something that he's gonna go out and accomplish. Yes.
Oh, man. I think I'm leaning towards Michael too. He's just so much more assertive, and I think he knows what he wants to get out of this role, and he's still open to learning from it though too. And I think it's hard to be, as a non-voting member sometimes over there, it's hard to be outspoken, I think, maybe. And so we want to hear from those students, and it's a very intimidating place. So
So I just brought up the student representative policy that we had passed as a board. Because I know both of these kids, obviously they're in my daughter's grade, so both great kids and who are well liked by their peers. So I think there'd be great openness there with both of them. My thought is, I mean, I think that Jamila and Caitlin did such a great job working with our younger kids and building those relationships. Would it be to the benefit to have both of them? I don't know what Jamila's point of view on that would be, because we only had 2 applicants. I think they're both great candidates, and it's not because I think that they're equally. It's not just because I want everybody to get a participation award. I really do think that they're both great and would do great things and so my thought is, I know that you guys worked really hard and took a lot of time. Would it be to the benefit to have 3 of you to do some of those interviews and sitting down with those kids that might make the position a little less burdensome?
Well, I would say yes, just because if all 3 of us we all have pretty, busy schedules. So 3 would be more beneficial, especially with visiting, because I do remember last year, either I had something going on in important class, or Caitlin had also something going on with, band, or we were both gone like for debate. So I think that could be a good possibility.
And our policy doesn't preclude us from doing that. It just says that we will have student representatives, not how many we will have. I think we just kind of decided on 2, but I guess I'd be open to that possibility because we only had 2 applicants. I think they're both great options for this position, and if it would allow them to do more work and give more feedback, and I don't see how that's a negative.
Jenny, I know you wanted to, let me get to Kyla.
Yep. I like that idea. Sure. I was actually.
If you're not cheating, you're not cheating.
No, every time it doesn't work out in my favor. I was actually gonna say, it's funny because I had preconceived notions about them, knowing them as students. I never had either of them, but I knew them as students, and they're exceptional, like beyond exceptional. I think, like, stick out of even the whole school is what my perception of them, as I knew them and I wasn't their teacher. Anyway, but I think after hearing them talk, I really enjoyed Chase's answers to things, and just thought it would offer him an opportunity to be representative. Michael's a representative of multiple things already, so I thought it would just be a great opportunity for Chase. And then, along with your answer that he was a little, but I really love that they could both be. So if we have to vote for anything, I vote for that. But then if we can't, then.
How does everybody feel about that? I know Chris, you already said, so hold on real quick. Donnie? Okay, I'm pausing. Chris?
I watched them interact while they were out here the whole time, from when they showed up, and they interacted. They're competing against each other for a position, and they knew that, but their interactions were awesome. They just were, just buddies, friends, and I think that they would do well working together along with Jamila. So
You're almost
I like
committing, just as a procedural thing, you're almost committing to 2 years with 3 then, because they would be 2 seniors, and then there would be, a junior, and there'd be a junior, because you kind of wanted that rotation. So that's something to think about, not that it matters, but. There you go.
Maybe they just,
It'll start to look like our sideline of our cheerleaders.
Donnie?
I don't know, I guess I just kind of feel that this is one of life's situations, a real life experience, and there's always, when you apply for a job, how often do they come up and say, oh, we really like you both, we're going to take both of you? I think that's a good learning experience. Do I like both of them? Yeah, I think they're both amazing, so I'm non-committal, not that.
I mean, I'm in favor of Renee's option, but as long as we understand that we're changing the cadence of our going forward, the student reps. And I'll just make one more pitch for Chase. It's exactly right. I think giving, that if that's the deciding factor, one is on these and has that experience, one doesn't. They're both on a level playing field, I think, with charisma and those kind of things. That's really what sways it for me, is just giving a student an opportunity that the other one already has in many other organizations. And that would be why I would pitch Chase.
Well, I agree with you, Donnie, and that's why I don't think this should be like I said, a participation, like you filled out the application, so you're automatically going to get in. I don't feel like that. I feel like that I want them to be on this board and I want them to take ownership of their role here, but I don't also want it to be so onerous. And I feel like they've made this into a really great thing where they've built these relationships and there's kind of a program now, and they're giving feedback to not only us as board members, but to the principals at each of the schools. And that I don't want it to become so burdensome that we don't have people apply for it because they see the time these guys are putting into it, and just having one more person to help shoulder that load if they're qualified. I mean, I think if we had 2 candidates and one was obviously not really up to the task, I wouldn't be advocating for this, but I also think that it helps shoulder that load so that this is a positive yet manageable experience for these kids that are obviously very involved in other things, so that we do it right and that they feel like they're doing it right and they're getting the results they hoping for.
Well, I'm with Donnie, just, you don't always get what you want. You apply, maybe you don't get it. And that's just, we've all been in that position in some part of our life, right? That we tried out for a sport or we tried out for a job or we did something and just did not get it. But listening to all of you, the one question that I came to mind was what's best for our district and our students? At the end of the day, would this potentially bring 2 very high-end students that have a lot of knowledge, are outspoken, willingness to probably get to some bottom and help stay on figuring out where we need to serve our students at a different level, and plus our admin team as well. Because I mean, I think it's nice to hear when you get to hear a student's point of view on something different, that it's a different point of view for that level as well. So, I mean, if I'm hearing the consensus that maybe both of them would be better off for the district and our students at this time, doesn't mean that we're setting the precedence. I mean, if we have 2 or 1 next year that just sets apart, then maybe we keep that too. But if I'm hearing what you guys are saying, I'm willing to also bring them both on.
Let's find out then. I'll make a motion to select both Michael and Chase position.
Second.
I have Chris Kay with the motion. I have Chris Larash with the second. Any other comments, questions? Okay, do we have any comments, questions from public audience? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you
You're.
for getting to the price. The idea. When I saw the application, I'm like,
So how do we want to do it? Do we want to vote now and then bring them both in and celebrate them both? Or do you want them to both understand what we've just done? We should what? Yes. How would you like to handle that? Oh. Okay, let's bring them back in. I'll make them sweat.
Best idea all night.
Okay, gentlemen, have a seat. It is very suspenseful. Well, as you can hear, we discussed, we collaborated. There was some giggling and chatter going on here. You both are great candidates, honestly. You both are very well involved in your school, in your personal preference on what you want to do for your future, and just everything that Laurel Public Schools looks for in our students. So it came down to, right now, we do have a motion on the table. Our motion is to ask the both of you to step in as student representatives. So I currently have a motion on the table by Chris and a second by my other Chris. Do I have any other comments, questions from the board? Comments, questions from the public audience? That does include you too. Okay, nothing else? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All in favor, say nay. Motion carried. Congratulations. We appreciate that. So we do believe that working next to Jay and that you guys will do a little bit more on that, because we will now have 3 of you and really hope to set a little bit more that we can, because you're both, all 3 of you are very busy. Good communication though. We do like to see board reports. If one of you,
Board meeting.
the second board meeting, if you can't make it, please let myself and Superintendent Torts know so that we understand that you're not going to be here.
Email's fine.
Yep, an email is just fine. Jay will kind of give you a quick rundown too when you guys take off, but because there's 3 of you, good communication, keeping us abreast, and we do want to hear participation because that's why we've asked you guys to come on. Okay, wonderful.
First meeting will be Monday, the 28th, next Monday, 6 o'clock. Usually they're second, the fourth Monday. Just so happens we had it on this Monday, but next Monday.
Alrighty, we'll have you just sit there real quick. Any future discussion items, board, that I have missed, that I have not brought up, that we need to come back to? Not hearing any? Alrighty, if nothing, I will adjourn the meeting. Oh, I'm sorry. I did not adjourn the meeting. I'm backtracking. Rewind. You're good. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring up that we should start looking into, we need direction on what to do for moving to the new buildings. We were talking about getting things set up for Infinite Campus, for the new schools and stuff. And in order to do that, we have to reach out to the state. So I'm thinking in the next board meeting, we'll probably bring forward a board action for you guys. I just wanted to explain it to you real quick. Just saying that the plan that we're doing and then giving us direction. And then, yeah, so that'll be next.
We probably won't do much until Julie's already contacted OPI. We're probably looking at February-ish But we'll have some things to fill out. It will take board action because you guys will be going, eliminating south. It changes our LEA numbers. We're going down to 2 schools in the elementary, K through 5 instead of the 3. So there'll just be a few little things, just so it's officials, so then we can actually take that to OPI. And I think they said, was it January, February? Right. So it's not anything we need to freak out on, but Devin's right. We'll have to have you vote on it.
I appreciate it. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. All righty, now we're adjourned. Official.